due to family, they cannot leave. And then we're doing our very best to frustrate them. Now, let me put this in proper context. As of 2022, there were about 9,000, no, 15,000 medical doctors, Nigerian trained in the UK.
That's a lot of doctors.
Let that sink in. How many doctors do we have left? So we're talking about salary adjustments following the increase in minimum wage that have not been made, that have not been done. But meanwhile, the politician, the political class, the office of political office holders never seems to have this problem. Their salaries and allowances always coming at the right time. For how long are we going to continue down this road? Yes, the Minister of Health has called for a meeting. He set up a subcommittee. They were to renegotiate a memorandum of understanding, and then critical members of the government team didn't show up. That shows you the level of importance, the level of seriousness they attach to the exercise. Now, my concern is in 3 weeks, I don't know what is going to materially change between now and 3 weeks' time. Remember, we have a FAC allocation meeting for July that will hold within the first 2 weeks of August. By the time money is shared between the federal government, the state government, and the local government, will there still be money to address these issues? And then, holistically, long term, what is the plan for funding health? Because government over time has repeatedly demonstrated, persistently shown that it lacks the ability, the intention, the capability to fully fund the health sector needs. Having noticed this, what efforts are being made to bring in private funding? There are people with deep pockets who can help fund some of these initiatives. What proposals are we making to them? Now, in all of this, how does this then encourage medical students or people who are supposed to be studying medicine? Because every year, a group of doctors will retire and need to be replaced. Every year, people will join. Now, the group retiring will probably be retiring with what, 30, 40, maybe at least 30 years of experience. Then that same year, you get someone who's a newbie, no experience. And this is excluded from the class of people who've emigrated and continue to emigrate.
Right.
So let's hope, let's watch and see what happens in 3 weeks' time.
Let's hope, let's watch and see what happens in 3 weeks' time. It just kind of feels we're stuck in this never-ending loop of demands, meetings, promises, broken promises, back to demands again, and so on and so forth. It just never seems to end. And you wonder something this important and relevant to the collective development of the country. It's taking with such levity. Yes, there are issues, but whatever issues that they might be, I want to believe that there is or there should be a way to sort the solution to that problem eventually will be. But is there an interest in solving the problem? The body language kind of doesn't, speak to that. But anyways, let's keep the conversation going. Get your thoughts coming through to us on YouTube on 080, sorry, I beg your pardon. YouTube is Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Kindly leave your comments in the chat box there. All right, AB, let me come to you right now with another story here. I'm hoping that the ghouls and the gremlins will allow you to breathe at this point. Okay, so we shall take a walk into, let me see here. We shall take a walk into, the Vanguard newspaper. Yes, we're going to take a walk into the Vanguard newspaper and take a look at this particular story concerning the call for state creation. It just seems like that is the issue at this point in time. So stakeholders from the Northwest Zone have renewed calls for the creation of new states, citing improved development, equity, and security as key motivations. The demands were presented at the Northwest Zonal Public Hearing of the Senate Committee on the review of the 1999 Constitution as amended, held on Saturday and Sunday in Kano. Now, I don't need to go into the states that were proposed that should have been created, that's going to take a little bit of time. But what is interesting here is AB. Those who are renewing these calls are citing improved development, equity, and security as key motivations. Now, looking at what we have now, is there any guarantee or any outlook that those particular things will come to fruition if new states are created?
Indeed, Ayo. What was most curious to me in this story is how all these potential benefits would just emerge seemingly magically once certain states were created or extracted from other places. And my question for all of the proponents of these states is, what is stopping those benefits from emerging right now for the people? I mean, it's really interesting to hear somebody saying that, if they create a new state, they would be able to foster peace, economic growth. They would be able to reduce. This was the one that I loved. They said if they made a new state, like one of them, they would have significant human and natural resources, including ginger and columbite and other solid minerals, which could reduce the region's reliance on federal allocations. Why are those particular things that they have identified as being in that region not currently reduced that particular area reliance on federal allocation? So,
Good question.
I'm not here to marry the positives or negatives of any state. I'm just saying, in the entire story, what they call the justification does not fly if you have not already exploited or explored.
Mm. AB, the connection is being very iffy at the moment. You're breaking seriously.
Particular things that you say.
AB, you might have to exit and come back into the call, and we'll pick it up. It's breaking very seriously.
Let me jump in.
Right.
So I understand what AB was trying to say, that why are they not performing these wonders now? Yes, I agree that with some of these proposals for states, that they're true agitations. For example, the state coming out of Kaduna, they've long alleged marginalization by the northern part of Kaduna. If you're familiar with Kaduna, its history and its politics, then you'll be well grounded in what I'm saying. However, I've always had an ultimate concern beyond the seemingly legitimate concerns of the people. What is the viability of these states? Because I'm looking at that northwest region as a geopolitical zone. There are not many states in that region that I can say are doing very, very well. So the question, guess, is yes, you have a legitimate aspiration, you have legitimate agitations. How will you be funded? Because each state will then come in with its retinue of a state cabinet, governor, deputy governor, state house of assembly, 3 senators, multiple members of the House of Representatives. Then you come in with your whole retinue of special assistants and senior special assistants, executive assistants. Then, interestingly, you have to build a government house, state secretariat, have to buy cars, have to get houses. Why do we continually do these things to ourselves when we should be focused, like Ebi said, on performing these wonders in the existing states? Everybody's just looking out for themselves. Oh, we want to be governors, we want to be deputy governors. It's just hilarious. Beyond all of this, how will you function as a state, assuming FAC is cancelled? I don't see any of these proposed states doing that. Because even in the existing order called Nigeria, bar 3 or 4 states, most of the states are insolvent. Take away FAC
And they're in
allocation.
trouble.
No, not they're in trouble. They're insolvent. There's a difference.
All right, AB, welcome back.
Just to round off, sorry about the network gremlin. The issue for me is all the proposed benefits that these states supposedly would bring to make the areas amazing should be realized and resolved right now. I think at that point we could even have this conversation. But everybody, like Mr. Sia said, everybody wants to be a senior special sub assistant to the assistant of the, you have a long list of people who are just hangers on, who just want to get into those government circles from the top to the bottom. I don't think a single one of these states in any region of the country is actually focused on bringing benefits to the people, or that line I saw that was farcical. It will, if you make this state, it will reduce reliance on federal allocation. Bollocks, absolute balderdash. That is a lie.
Hmm. And you just wonder, I mean, more states, doesn't that mean that a lot more money has to be pumped in faculty? Well, I mean, doesn't that reduce the allocation of all the states? If you have more states, that dilutes the pot as it is already.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Interesting times that we're living in. Anyways, Mr. C, let us talk about security matters here. This came up um, over the weekend, and it's about the 6 Nigerian law school students who were abducted. This is coming from the Punch. Now, the abductors of those 6 law school students have reportedly demanded a ransom of 20 million naira for each victim, according to Punch Metro. Now, the students were reportedly kidnapped in Benue State by suspected gunmen while traveling from Onitsha, Anambra State, to the Yola campus of the Nigerian Law School in Adamawa State on Saturday. The incident occurred in the late hours of Saturday as they were on their way to resume their academic activities at the Yola campus, which was scheduled to reopen today following their court externship break. Once again, Benue State is in the news for all the wrong reasons. It's been plagued by serious insecurity issues recently, and kidnapping is also on the list of the things that they are dealing with, Mr. C.
Okay. Thank you. This is a very sad developing story, and our thoughts at this point in time go out to the families of the 6 forcefully abducted Nigerian law school students, and we sincerely hope and pray that they are reunited with their loved ones, with their colleagues at the Nigerian law school. Now, having said that, this is not the first time students of the Nigerian law school have been abducted on their way to their various law school campuses. In 2022, students from the Enugu campus were abducted. Now, again, this is insecurity we're talking about. And each time our security chiefs come out to tell us, oh, the security situation is under control, I've always had my reservations. Now, the spot at which these students were reportedly abducted is according to the locals, is a notorious spot for abductions. Now, you will think that a sport that has gained notoriety over time will then be populated by security agencies to make sure that it loses their tag. But sadly, the case. Now, each of the students has been asked to pay 20 million. And the abductors we hear have reached out to the families of these abducted students. Now, in the era of NIN, registered SIM, how are they performing these wonders? How do they intend to collect 20M? Obviously, through an account. Nobody has time to count cash or weigh cash.
Mm.
So it begs the question, what are our security agencies actually doing? What was the whole point of making the country get NINs registered as SIMs if incidents like this continue to happen? Now, more importantly, again, what is the value of a Nigerian life? We continue to ask this question, we continue to get no answers. Now, this is a Benue state that the governor would rather tell a political figure, don't come to my state, I don't allow you to come in. Has he said the same thing to criminal gangs, abducting people, robbing them, assaulting them? And this is the same country that wants to become a $1 trillion economy. The jokes continue to write themselves. Every day, people are abducted all over Nigeria. It's just that some stories don't make it to the news.
Mm.
Now, the response of the police spokesperson for the Adama State Police Command was disappointing. He's contacted, and the first thing that he says is it didn't happen within the state. Rather than saying we're working with all our, starting with, we're working with our fellow commands to ensure that they are safely recovered. The Nigerian police is not one. Which one is it didn't happen in our state? Now, for those Nigerians who've had cause to travel by road, on certain parts of the highways, from one checkpoint you can see the next checkpoint. You can literally see the next checkpoint with your two physical eyes. As in, and so
what's the point?
no, so when you scale the first checkpoint, the guys at the second checkpoint flag you down, and you're like, ladies and gentlemen, you literally saw we were stopped at the previous checkpoint, and their response is that is that checkpoint. This is a different checkpoint. So again, how are these people moving? The lady at Nape Comsat who was shouting the other day that we should be prepared to go to space. We have two satellites orbiting Nigeria, orbiting space. How is it that none of these satellites are helping the security agencies real time find out what happened?
Or maybe they are and we just don't know about it.
If they are, why are we reading this sort of story? What is the coordination? Are the various security agencies doing the handshake? Are they talking to themselves? Yes, in Lagos, we will say, oh, Benue, far away. Until this nonsense comes to Lagos, then we will truly know that we're in a very, very dire situation.
So many things going on. Ebi, I guess you have a word to add to this.
Yes. Since we were just talking of state creation and all the benefits that can come, maybe they divide Benue State into two. Security will become better.
Magically, perhaps. I don't know if it works that way. Even in the Harry Potter universe, I don't think it's that swift when it comes to things just switching up. But anyways, all right, Ebi, let us talk about some more matters here. We're going to step into the Daily Trust, where the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, has expressed outrage over what it describes as fiscal vandalism by the Tinubu administration following the approval of yet another $21 billion in foreign loans by the National Assembly. Now, the party says this new wave of borrowing will drive Nigeria's public debt beyond 200 trillion naira before the end of the year, with no corresponding development or economic revival to actually justify it. In a statement signed by its National Publicity Secretary, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, the ADC accused President Tinubu of surpassing his predecessor by mortgaging the country's future in mountains of debt in the name of economic reform. Well, I'm going to treat this as a question of messenger and the message as well. Message, yes, very well received. A lot has been said about the wave of borrowing, really. But at the same time, members of the ADC talking about, this administration surpassing the previous one. I mean, a number of them had hands and toes and other things in the previous administration as well. So it's really rich coming from them saying these things.
Indeed, the final paragraph of the story says ADC demanded a full disclosure of all loan agreements signed over the past 10 years, insisting that Nigerians have a right to know the terms, interest rates, payment timelines, and final recipients of the loans. One of the prominent voices in the ADC is Rotimi Amechi. And I remember one time when he was in one of those panels and he was being asked about the loans. And either he muttered it under his breath that if they had to bring out this information, we might not get the loan. So he, for one person, is party to these loans and should be able to, from his records at home, bring out these answers. That being said, the ADC is making another point, which I take directly from this sentence. They said these loans are coming, mountains of debt, as they describe it, and there seems to be no corresponding development or economic revival. And I think, leaving all the numbers and sentiments and messenger aside, That seems to be the core issue because, you know, some people on one side will say this is actually net less than Buhari did, but because of the interest rate, it looks more. That is all very, you know, it's useful conversation, but what is the net effect on the people, on the populace, on the hopes of Nigerians? Arguably, unless it's a very, very distant light at the end of a very, very remote tunnel, thus far, these loans and the way they're piling up do not appear to translate into improvements in healthcare. Story number one, doctors. Infrastructure, floods didn't allow Tinubu drive to a place where murders had happened. Security, checkpoints every 200 meters, yet people cannot feel safe. They're being abducted. So what indeed are these loans being used for? And that, if you take away the people who are saying it and the sheer chutzpah of some of them to be speaking today, you look at it, that becomes a question because these loans have to be paid off or they will be owed. And when they are owed, those people who are signing them off, right, they also point fingers at the National Assembly, who ostensibly, according to the Constitution, are supposed to be an oversight group of people.
Right.
But
right.
all we seem to see every day are rubber stamp appearance, any letter written before the ink has dried on the letter from the president, they have already approved it. Literally in transit, like prayers to people's inboxes. I don't know how else to describe it. So the ADC, yes, coming from them, really, really rich. But the facts must be said. How is this mounting of loans, A, going to be paid? And while it's being stacked onto the Nigerian back, almost cracking the back, how is it giving us relief? Is our electricity sector better? And I go down to the state governments. Is our healthcare sector better? Which area can we say, oh, with these huge debts we have taken, now, finally, we're seeing this improvement? Arguably, almost nowhere. And if your security is not good, nowhere else is the discussion worth having.
All right, thank you for that, AB. So very much. Mr. Senu, time has actually flown by, but I really wanted to touch on this particular story that has to do with Serap once again. This is in the Vanguard, so let me just jump into it. 4 years after the submission of a forensic audit report detailing the alleged misappropriation of over 6 trillion naira in the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, the document remains shrouded in secrecy. No one has been held accountable. Thousands of projects remain abandoned, and the suffering of Niger Delta communities continue. Now, Serap is ramping up its campaign for accountability, taking legal action, submitting public petitions, and calling out institutions that have failed to act. This is utterly ridiculous, Mr. C. Trillions of naira. I mean, come on.
So, very quickly, this is an administration that has pledged to fight corruption, and Serap is taking up that promise or pledge on a number of fronts. Between October and December last year, NNPCL earned 1.1 trillion naira and remitted only 600 billion naira into the Federation account. 500 billion remains unaccounted for. Serap has been asking questions. We've been greeted with radio silence. Now, the NDDC report between 2000 and 2019 identified over 13,000 projects.
13,000
that had been abandoned, 6 trillion gone. And that audit report cost 1.4 billion to commission. Then we have another group we have other agencies that have displaced money. So the question to Nigerians today, because really and truly, this is a government that has pledged to fight corruption, or is pledging to fight corruption, and all of these things are happening. The NDDC report has been outstanding for 4 years. It reportedly implicates a number of top politicians, top public officials, top contractors. Any surprise why it has not been released? So, Nigerians, these are some of the questions I enjoin us to continue to ponder. In less than 2 years, we will be at the polls again. With or without electoral reform, let us decide if these are the sort of events we want to continue listening to, we want to continue to be exposed to between 2027 and 2015.
All right, Mr. C, thank you very much for that. Shewodese on YouTube says, what is the significance of gathering personal data from Nigerians if the security agencies are not taking advantage of it? I hope those law students will return safely. We also hope and pray that happens as well. Thank you, Ashwin, for your message. And thank you so very much for keeping it tuned and being a part of Freshly Pressed this morning. Once again, apologies for the inconvenience concerning communication channels. We are working on that. We'll get it back up as soon as possible. And of course, thank you so very much to you, Mr. C and Ebi, for making it a fantastic Monday morning.
Thank you. I imagine that perhaps these families are being reached out through the victims' phones. And so maybe that's why it's not a separate number that you can track separately. But that said, we need these people to be rescued. That is why our security services exist. Any other purpose is meaningless. The only people making money on this Monday morning are those who are signing these loans that don't seem to trickle down to Nigerians. But that's notwithstanding, we must put our best foot forward and make this week something memorable.
All right, this is it.
Okay, then, friends, let's just go out this week, do what we have to do, keep our heads up. Things will definitely get better. Here's to a fruitful, rewarding, and profitable week ahead, and to the safe return of everyone who's been abducted, whether you're in the news or you're not in the news. Take care.
Amen to that. Thank you so very much to you fine gentlemen. And thank you once again for keeping it locked right here on Smooth 98.1. The Smooth Breakfast kicks on most definitely. It's going to be all about sports at 8:15. Mission X accomplished. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more.